Just picked up this new Honda CRF250L on the dealer a while ago. So it's the non-ABS version, so these come in at around 7,000. I think the ABS version comes in at 7,500. This was the only bike in stock at the moment, and you know, like it'll do for the task. So choice was between it and probably it was a Himalayan, but I'd have to go to Sydney and pick one of those up, or a Kawasaki, the new Kawasaki 230, and a couple of other ones, but this is one I decided to have a hit at. Going back 2 years ago, I had also this same bike in the rally version. I didn't go much in it because it was very high off the ground. This one here still sits off the ground at 34.5, but you know, on the way home it seemed okay. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. Naturally, I've still got the 650 Enfield here. At the moment, with the ride home, I've now got 4.5 kilometres on the clock. So I'll be able to ride this around here over the next couple of weeks or so and just see how it performs and compare what it was like, and maybe run even it along a couple of dirt roads. But at the moment it appears to be a nicely well finished bike. The fit and finish on the bike I can't complain about because everything's nice and neat, well put together. Actually, they do a very good job putting it together. So overall, everything looks good. I think they put out around 24 horsepower, something like that. The dealer said I could probably ride along at 90, 100 kilometres an hour, like running in, and it'll handle that quite well. Bring it back at 1,000, 1,500 kilometres for the first service, so it's fairly easy that way. I think the service intervals after that would be 8,000 kilometres, so it's a fairly easy bike to live with. Apparently they're all right on gas too, in case you're thinking what's it like that way. So looking at the front of the bike, we've got a 21-inch front wheel, 18-inch rear. We have got a sort of a sump guard. Only problem, that's plastic, so I suppose you could say better than nothing, but not much better than nothing, so long term I'd have to look at improving that one. I also noticed that it's got a radiator guard, but once again it's just a plastic guard, so that could be, if we ever decide to do any off-road sort of work, that could be improved with a better quality guard, because on the 650 Interceptor here I've already ordered a better quality guard for the oil cooler. One little fine point here is on your gear selector, it's got a pivot, so that's not a bad idea. I think in the previous model of these they were fixed, and I think I'd heard or read somewhere that they were fixed and they moved on the new model to a pivot. But once again, the detail and cleanness of the engine is really nice on these 250Ls. So like I said, the seat height is 34.5. Now when I get on the bike, it's really got, it appears to have fairly soft suspension, so when I get on it at 34.5, I'm about 5'9", putting that in, sitting on the bike I can go very close to flat footing, pretty close anyway. I'm not far off that side of it, so it's not overwhelming like it was when I bought the 250 Rally. That was when you sat on that bike, or once you pulled the side stand off and got on the bike, it virtually sprung up into the air, and that was a fairly scary looking and a scary feeling bike to get on. You felt like you were riding on a step ladder. Now on this particular model, one other good thing about it, you get a tacho built in. Apart from that, you get the fuel gauge. Actually had no fuel in it when I picked it up, or very little, so since then I've just fueled it up, and I don't think there's much more it does apart from your rev counter, kilometres, and I'll have to check the owner's manual on it, but it's fairly simple. But more importantly, it's a nice big digital display, which is good, so that's one advantage, so I like that part of it. While we're at it, we might give her a kick over, see how she starts. That kicks away, look at that, the sausage dog ran inside. Come on, come on, come on girl. One thing I've noticed, and I've only ridden it 4 kilometres, this horn position here is in a really bad place, and you're riding along and you go here for the indicators and straight away you bit the horn. And it's happened to me now about, I don't know, at least half a dozen times in that short 4 kilometre drive. So that's a little bit annoying and something you'd have to get used to. But so there's your indicators down low. But the horn one is a really tricky one and just something you'll have to get used to. I'm not sure if this is a normal or not, but the foot peg itself is fair size. So when you look at with the boots on, they seem to be a good grip. Not sure if that's normal from these 250Ls from bike to bike, or whether or not they brought it a little bit larger on this latest model, but might be the standard thing, not sure. Like I mentioned earlier, this hasn't got the ABS, but it still has front and rear discs. I didn't find that they were what you would call powerhouses on my way home. When I applied them a few times, I felt a bit on the spongy side, but like I said, this is a brand new bike, so there's no bite on them at the moment. Might be a bit different after I put 500 kilometres on it, then I could comment later once again and tell you then what the braking system's like. But at this stage they seem a little bit on the dead side, but you know, the infield was like that too in the beginning, and then livened up after I'd put a few hundred kilometres on it. That's a new addition I pulled in there just about half hour ago, so just thought I'd give you a look at that bike. And I was thinking of a Honda Grom, but I've got till Monday to decide if I want to go ahead and buy the Grom, because they'd have to order it from Monday onwards, so the new shipment arrives next week, so that's something to think about. But main thing about today is just show you the Honda CRF250L. Once again, thanks for tuning in, taking a look.